What is Candida yeast and why is it one of the key points of our treatment regimen? Number one, yeast is in the mold and fungus family. So you know how allergic we are to mold and fungus. Imagine it trapped in your colon. It creates a lot of inflammation and that yeast, it feeds on sugar or carbs that break down into a sugar. And when it feeds on it, it creates a gas. It bloats, it rises. So do you have issues like heartburn, acid reflux, bloating, indigestion, GERD, IBS? We don't really care what you call it or name it, it's inflammation. And very often, one of the common causes is this Candida yeast. Why are we getting so much Candida yeast? Well, let's just say, how many rounds of antibiotics were you put on as a kid for ear infections? Or if you had a lot of acne as a teenager and you were put on antibiotics. And now you have this yeast overgrowth in your gut. That yeast can spill out into bladder, urinary, vaginal tract, down into the toenails as toe fungus, up into the throat as thrush. It can even work its way into the sinus cavities and systemically on the skin as rashes. Think of yeast as a big wet blanket on the immune system. So what are we trying to do post-pandemic? We're trying to keep our immune systems really supported. Let's get the yeast overgrowth, that load, off of your immune system. How do we do that? Well, it's very tenacious. You can't starve it out with diet. You can't wash it out with a colonic. There are some over-the-counter things that might help it retreat, but probably won't kill it completely. One of the few medications that we use or write here at our pharmacy is for nystatin, which is an antifungal. It'll target it in the gut. You've got to kill it in the reservoir first. Then you want to kill it wherever it has spilled out of the gut, and that's another medication to kill it systemically. So let's just say you've had recurrent, bladder infections, and you go to the doctor and he gives you an antifungal that targets it locally, and it goes away. But a month, two later, boom, it's come back because you didn't kill it in the gut. So we got to go upstream, clean up the reservoir, and then kill it where it went downstream. Now you can get rid of it. But the diet is so important. We want to be on a yeast and sugar-free diet for a certain period of time so we're not feeding it while we're trying to kill it. So if you've tried some antifungals and it cleared up for a while, we're going to take it one step further and make sure we clean it up in the reservoir, the gut first. Then we'll come clean it up systemically. All the while you're on a good diet that's not feeding the yeast while we're trying to kill it. And for so many of us that are trying to get the weight back into a good healthy range, this diet is a very good jump start for long-term weight loss, weight maintenance. And we can kind of adjust that after we get off of the yeast treatment. But it's so prevalent in our society, these symptoms, and you can see one of the reasons why, because of the amount of antibiotics that we've had in our lifetime. So we want to break that cycle, and that is why it's one of the 6 to 8 points of our treatment regimen, because it is so common, and we're going to go ahead and address it once and for all.